Thank you, Sandra. Rebecca, if you're able to turn your mic and camera on, or I'm just, I've just sent you an invite, so hopefully, oh, thank you so much. We're having the beauty of agile releases of software, that the software slightly changed this morning, which is giving me palpitations, but hopefully you're both doing really, really well. And I'm really looking forward to this session now, which is about Broxbourne and the Digital Council. So if you wanted to share your screen, and I'll just stop around for a second and make sure everything's all good, and then I will leave you to it. And brilliant. That is excellent. So I'll leave you to introduce yourselves and obviously what you're going to speak about. So thank you very much for being our second speakers. And I'm really looking forward to it.
Thank you very much, Andy. Hopefully everyone can hear me, can they? Can you hear us?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Great, thank you.
Loud and clear.
Thank you. And thank you very much for inviting us to share with you today Broxbourne's transformation journey. I'm Sandra Beck, I'm the Director of Finance at Broxbourne.
And I'm Rebecca Keene, and I'm Head of Finance at Broxbourne. So before we talk about our transformation journey, just a little bit of a context of who we are. So Broxbourne Borough Council is situated just north of London, with the M25s at our southern border. And as a borough council, we deliver a range of services to around about 100,000 people. These include waste and recycling. We do weekly food waste collections and fortnightly recycling. Our recycling isn't commingled, so we collect everything, plastics, glass, paper, separately. And we do a fortnightly green waste subscription service. We've got 2 leisure centres, a golf course, a museum and a theatre. And we also have responsibility for housing and helping people who find themselves without accommodation. And we do the fun jobs like collecting council tax and business rates, and we administer benefits. All of these different interactions with our customers mean that we're often contacted by people who are upset because the services haven't met their expectations or are vulnerable and are looking to us for help and assistance.
We were definitely ready for change. We carried out, and before we did change though, we carried out some research to make sure that our customers were also ready for change and they could cope with new digital technology. The whole ethos behind our change was that we wanted to improve the customer service and the customer experience to make it easier for customers to transact with us. The transformation was a 3-phase process. Part of it was to transform the reception area, to provide private meeting rooms where people could have discussions, because previously the reception was over 3 areas, 3 different levels of the building. There were no private meeting rooms, so if you wanted to talk about a domestic violence incident, you would be standing next to someone who wanted to pay their council tax and having that discussion. We wanted to provide multifunctional space that would meet the needs of all of our customers, and part of this even included the people waiting to speak to someone could bring their children along, and their children could be occupied and amused while they were waiting. Our telephone contact centre used to be in a different part of the building. In fact, it was in a different building entirely. So there was no opportunity to switch between telephone contact and face-to-face meeting. We wanted to make sure that our services were available to our customers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we wanted to significantly improve our technology. We were running off systems that didn't completely integrate. In fact, some of them didn't integrate at all. And we had some 70 access databases. Obviously, access databases are a thing of the past, and we had hardly any expertise in the building that knew how to update the databases when a change was needed. Before we embarked on the change programme, we considered every single transaction that customers might want to carry out with the council. And we wanted as well to establish what friction had been put into the system. We did have a presumption that our customers were an inconvenience to us. And to a certain extent, they were, because sometimes the customer would ring up with a very, very minute or basic inquiry that a technical person would need to deal with. As an example, how many points have I got on the housing register? Now, a technical expert who's dealing with our housing requirements doesn't need to be spending all day on the phone telling someone how many points they've got on the housing register. So we did look at everything pretty much from the bottom up.
As Sandra's explained, we really were ready for change, but we had a couple of false starts with transformation programs where consultants had come in and had looked at all our processes and done a lot of the work that Sandra talked about, but then have come back and with a sort of one-size-fits-all organisational restructure, and that just didn't feel like it was going to achieve what we wanted, and it wasn't right for Broxbourne. So with Soprasteria's help, we sort of stepped back and said, what is it that we really want to achieve here? And we came up with this clear vision that it was putting customers at the heart of everything we do. And that kind of worked as a golden thread through everything we did subsequently. That was always what we came back to, was how does the customer feel about this, and how will they feel as they're going through these experiences and these contacts with us? We put together a core team, and this was a mix of experts from Sopra in terms of change management and customer experience and understanding your customers, and also technology and how we could use technology and what there was out there. You know, it was really a case of everything was possible. You know, we didn't say no to anything initially. It was like, let's go blue sky, almost, that sort of slightly naff phrase. And we had this team, we pulled it together. And we also had service leads, so experts from each service within the council. And what was really great is we had real senior management buy-in. So all of those service leads were empowered. They were given the chance to really focus on the transformation programme and play their part in doing that. And the whole team was given a name, One Broxbourne, and a sort of slogan, putting the community first, which again came back to that customers at the heart. And it really gave a sense of excitement and buy-in from everyone that was involved. We sort of had daily meetings. Every couple of weeks we'd have pizzas at lunchtime, and it just really real team spirit, but also real enthusiasm to make sure we were delivering and that we were going to do the change, because there had been quite a lot of skepticism because of our previous experiences where, well, this is great, but are we actually ever going to deliver anything? And partly driven by that, but also because we knew we wanted a new reception and we knew how long that would take to build and to refurbish, we set a really ambitious delivery date to make sure that we did everything quickly and at pace so that everyone could really quickly feel the benefits of the transformation programme. And all of that meant that over 15 weeks from start to finish, that core team, particularly the council officers, learned loads and loads of new phrases and ways of working. We had stand-ups, there were sprints, there was this concept of a customer journey, something that I think none of us had really ever thought of it in those terms before. And we had a minimum viable product, the MVP, which is essentially what is the lowest level that we can deliver on that first day and go live. And in those 15 weeks, we delivered a purpose-built reception area that's got options for self-service, whether that be tablets for people to go and access there, or whether it be desktop PCs. And we've got the private meeting rooms, like Sandra mentioned, so that you can actually break out into that separate space. Or we've got more open informal meeting areas where, you know, a big desk, so if someone wants to come in and talk about their planning application, there's space for them to do that and meet with an officer, also with screens so they can sort of do it technologically as well. We also launched our new website, and whilst it wasn't the finished article, there were 32 live customer journeys, which meant that there were ways that people could come and interact with us and could use those digital services from the outset. And we also launched our council-wide back office system, which is our way of capturing the data and is the other side of the website, essentially. And so every customer contact that comes in goes into there, so it's all in one place, one system for it to use. And it was really, really important that we went live with all three elements at the same time. One, because we wanted to deliver and we wanted it all there and done, but also because we wanted that experience to be the same for a customer, however they decided to interact with us. whether that was coming in and talking to a customer services assistant face-to-face, whether it was going onto the website at home remotely or on their phone, however, or whether they called up. And having all three going at the same time meant that we were able to achieve that, and from the outset have that completely different experience for everybody involved.
Having looked at every single transaction, we knew pretty much the order of priority to change the process and to get the most areas where customers interacted with us digitised quickly. And in doing so, we looked at every single step of the process. We really got under the skin of each process, and we asked ourselves at every stage in the process what the customer was doing, what the customer was thinking, and how the customer was feeling. That really gave our staff a focus as to sort of what the customer experience was. Because most of the time where a step in the process was difficult for our staff, it was also very difficult and not a particularly pleasant experience for our customers. The customer services assistants no longer acted as a switchboard. They now started to handle the calls, and they only transferred a call to a specialist if they were completely unable to handle the inquiry. Most of the inquiries were easy enough for the customer service assistants to take on, and now over 70% of all inquiries are dealt with by our customer services assistants at the first point of contact. Before we embarked on this transformation programme, it was just 30%. Calls to report a missed bin were only allowed to happen in the previous, before we went through the transformation programme, were only allowed to happen if the customer phoned after 4 o'clock. So it wouldn't matter if the customer had been sat looking out of their front room window and seen the bin lorry drive past their house and leave the road. If they called in, the answer they got from the customer service assistants was, sorry, you're going to need to phone back after 4 o'clock, because that's when we knew that the refuse crew would have finished their rounds. The website wasn't an interactive tool. It was a repository for information, lots and lots of information on the website, but nothing that was really useful. Really pleased now that customers can self-serve from anywhere, even if it's from the council's own reception. They still can do that. If they can't self-serve, a customer service assistant will either do the job for them or will assist them with a service. Customer service assistants can now move between reception and the call centre, because the call centre is now part of reception and behind a clear window. So that the customer service assistants can see if the telephones are busy and then someone comes off reception and goes in to help answer calls. Or alternatively, if reception's busy, they come off the call centre and go into reception to assist face-to-face customers.
So Sandra outlined the changes to our culture and the way that the great improvements that have been in the experience both for customers and for staff. But there have also been wider benefits of the programme. We've become much more efficient in the ways of working. We've not got members of staff rekeying information from one system to another. A report of a missed bin comes in via email, and so it's then recorded in the waste database. We've got one source of data. And it means that we're much better at understanding our performance and making sure that we're focusing our efforts in the right places. And it's also been quite self-fulfilling in a way, because as we've had access to new technologies and new ways of working, we've been constantly pushing and challenging ourselves and saying, well, we've got this far, but wouldn't it be great if we could use a technology like this, and if we could introduce this way of people interacting and accessing our services? And it's how can we leverage that technology to really get the most out of it? We've also become much more resilient in our service delivery, and this was probably best shown back in March when the pandemic really struck and suddenly we were all working at home. One day we were in the offices, the next day we were all at home. Microsoft Teams was rolled out really quickly to enable us to do this. But from the customer's viewpoint, essentially nothing changed. Yes, they couldn't come into reception anymore, but other than that, they could still access all our services. People were still there to answer the phones. The website still offered everything, and we were able to roll out lots of new customer journeys really quickly, using the skills and the knowledge that we'd learned during that first fast-paced transformation. Really set us up well to start delivering things quickly. So we were able to roll out online application forms for business grants so businesses could access them. We were able to get very quick FAQs and simple customer journeys on there for benefits for people wanting information about how they could be supported. And we're also able to redeploy staff and redeploy our resources to support the benefits team more, so that using that customer focus and that customer first and what is it that they want to know meant we could put more things in place really, really quickly, so that as much as possible, certainly from what the council could help, people weren't impacted too greatly by the pandemic. So what next? Transformation is a continuous process. Our customers' needs are constantly changing and evolving. And as I said, we're always looking at ways that we can better use the technology that we've now got available. We want to try and make as many of our services as digital as possible. And we want to roll out to our leisure offerings as well to bring them along on the journey with us. I mean, a lot of them are there already, but give them their own dedicated websites so that that feel much more like that sort of more private sector offering, just to really put that customer service ethos first at the forefront of their minds too. And then we're going to turn the spotlight onto our internal processes and use those same principles that we use for the customer journeys to improve the way that we deliver our services internally, our support services, and how we can use the technology and those efficiencies we've learned to really push ourselves forward. And we're starting to transfer skills and knowledge from the SOPRA team into the council ourselves so that we can become more self-sufficient and continue this for years to come ourselves without needing to rely on them as much as we have done. So really that was quite a relatively quick overview of our story and our journey. And I think we're happy to take any questions now if anyone's got them, or if not, our email addresses are there as part of the presentation if anyone wants to get in touch with us.
Thank you very much there. That was really, really good. So any questions from the floor? Anything you want to raise in Q&A? I'm just noticing how easy was it to get the baseline information to establish benefits?
Yeah, it was relatively easy because we sat down with the service, with each individual service, and asked them what they thought the numbers were. So it was, how many people do you think come in every day to talk to the housing needs service about I'm homeless? And then we put each transaction into an order of priority based on that base data. Okay, brilliant.
Brilliant. If anyone has any questions they want to raise direct, please do use the raise hand feature and we can bring you up onto the stage. And I'm just going to check in the chat. So Esther picking up cultural piece being so important in any project, really. Let's be honest. I'm just trying to go through the chat there. Interested in costs and saving hand. Hope that was addressed and delivered. Costs and saving and how that was addressed and delivered. Sorry, let me read that again. I'm interested in costs and savings and how that was addressed and delivered. You kind of touched on that with that one.
Yeah, this wasn't a cheap process at all. But then, to be fair, we hadn't invested in IT for a very, very, very long time. Our annual IT costs were probably around £100,000 to £150,000 a year. And that had been the amount for probably 10, 15 years, at least all the time that I'd been at the council. So overall, this project's probably cost us about £3.5 to £4 million. We've only just started to realise the efficiency savings from that, but they will be significant when we get there. But it's more than about savings. This whole project is about bringing us up to date with technology, and also about making sure that our customer experience is a good one rather than the clunky experience that they would have had before.
Brilliant. That's so nice to see that. Was the project responsible for delivering cashable savings? A lot of savings questions coming in. Cashable. So yeah, I guess, was there cashable savings in there as a target?
There wasn't as a target, no, but it has delivered cashable savings. Yeah, we have realised a number of efficiency savings from this process, and we continue to do so. There are a couple of services that we haven't quite, as a full service, put through the transformation programme yet. That's the revenues and benefits service. But we do know that we've got a pinch point in those services. We're about 7 members of staff short, which is about £1 million worth of costs. So we do know that when we put that service through the transformation programme proper, we won't need to recruit those staff.
That's brilliant. Yeah, Revs and Bens is where I started in councils. So yeah, I understand the problems in there very well. So yes, well, that's been wonderful. Let me just have a double check of the chat. I'm not seeing any additional questions in there. So I just want to take the moment to say thank you very much. That was a really, really interesting case study, and thanks for sparing the time and coming to deliver it for us. Hopefully you are about for 5 or 10 minutes, because we're going into a break now, so people can chat at the table. If not, obviously there is your emails, as you've said, and you're happy for people to get in touch and ask you, and I think that's brilliant. I'm sure there was okay, so no, actually I'm going to go with one question. What was the biggest lesson that came out of it for you? What was, if you had to say, hey, one thing you should really focus on to try and make sure this is the biggest success and you can avoid the pitfalls? If you can't do one, we'll accept more. But yeah, what was your biggest lesson? The thing you tell people to focus on most?
The biggest lesson that we learn is that it's important to get the right people round the table when you're reviewing the processes, and to challenge every single step in that process, because some people have been doing the job for such a long time. It's very difficult for them to see, other than, I have to do this because I can't move to the next stage until I've gone through that process. So it's really challenging that process and saying, well, why? What value does that step in the process add? So rigorous challenge and getting the right people around the table are probably the 2 biggest lessons. Becky, have you got a view on that?
I think as well, it was that change of perspective as well, and being able to look at it from someone else's viewpoint, not just that we've always done this because this is the easiest for us. And I think without stepping back and taking that look, and Sandra mentioned it during the presentation, that we sort of went through every journey and went, how's the customer feeling about this now? How's this making them feel? What are they having to do? And I think that change in perspective really did make a big difference to how we all looked at the journeys and how we were delivering them. And I think something else, it was sort of just coming back to a previous question about cashable savings and things. I think it was really important that wasn't the main driver from the outset. It really was about changing the way we worked and the way people could interact with us, rather than it being, right, how can we save some money? How can we change things? And I think that was really key to, one, bringing staff along, because they really bought into that process, that this is to make us better. This isn't just about streamlining us and improving things that way. So I think just having that different outlook rather. Really,
I'd agree.
important.
It can be quite challenging to get people to change their mindset and to think of it from the mind of the customer, and understand that actually delivering customer value is going to deliver value for the council overall and streamlining that service. And I think I'd echo as well what Sandra said there around really challenging those steps and really understanding the why are we doing it. You know, it's not just good enough that we do it, it's part of the process, but really why? Because so many things creep into our processes over time that were fixes for problems that are long since gone, and they just become accepted, and it's very rare that you get the chance to really unpick those. You know, we're not doing that sort of work every week. So yeah, I think there's some great lessons there, and a great session. So thank you very much once again. We're now going to move into a break.